Okay, Parkinson's law says this: expenses rise to meet income. And so it also can be applied to time as well. It doesn't just have to do with money. It says that in reference to time, it says work expands to fill time available for its completion. But we'll be talking today about the money side, which is expenses rise to meet income. Basically, Parkinson's law says that the more you earn, the more you spend. And the reason why I bring that up is it's going to actually tie into today's book of the day, which is The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. And if you haven't read this book before, I think it is a foundational book. It's one of the first books that I ever read. When I was first getting started, I first came on to Jim Rohn, Brian Tracy, some Zig Ziglar, and somewhere right in that mix, I came into Dave Ramsey. And if you don't know who he is a financial teacher. He teaches people how to save money and get out of debt, and also how to invest their money so that they can create wealth for themselves and their families. He is also the inventor of the baby steps, which are 7 steps that are designed to help anybody get to financial freedom and also create wealth for themselves and for their families. So that's what we're talking about today. If you, this isn't going to be a super scripted video because I've been following Dave Ramsey for a long time, and I've been working the baby steps as well for a long time. And one of the things that I absolutely love about the baby steps is that I believe it is a financial plan that anybody can follow. It is extremely simple, it's very practical, and it's relatively easy to follow. Now, depending on what your financial situation looks like right now, it can be kind of challenging to get yourself back into a solid state, especially if you have a lot of debt, or you maybe don't even have a job right now, or whatever it might be. But with that aside, this is still going to be probably the best plan. I think it is the best overall financial plan for people because it applies to so many people, and it's something that really anybody can do. So we're going to walk through these baby steps in just a second. But the reason why I wanted to talk about Parkinson's law first is because if you're anything like me, one of the main things that we're trying to do is make more money. I'm pretty sure most people would agree that most people generally want to make more money. But the reason why I think that this book is the first thing we need to talk about before we can move on to talking about making more money is because if we do not have the basics in place, we will suffer from Parkinson's law, meaning that we will increase our income, we will make more money, but we will spend more money, and we will not have anything more than when we were earning less. And I know that this sounds crazy, but this is not just something that I made up or pulled out of the air. This has been talked about by many, many people. There's another book that I have on my desk over here. It's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. That was the book I was reading. Another book that I was reading today. We're going to be talking about that one in another upcoming video. He talks about Parkinson's law as well too. And Dave Ramsey and Robert Kiyosaki, they have some similar beliefs, and then they also have some conflicting beliefs, which is going to be a very common thing that you're going to see in the industry, is that a lot of the big people that teach these things, a lot of them disagree with each other. And so it's more about, researching and figuring out what's going to work best for you. I really like this. I think that Dave Ramsey gets a lot of heat for his plan. But I've looked at what a lot of the other people say to do, and this is just like a very practical, simple plan that I think anybody can follow. And for me, it's something that I personally do follow. So, but anyways, so we're reading this book. It will solve this problem that Parkinson's law is, meaning that if we really focus on this book and do what it says, and we get the problem solved within this book, we will not suffer from Parkinson's law in the future. That's how this ties in. So let's talk about the plan, and then we'll kind of wrap up here. So the first step is to save a $1,000 emergency fund. So this can be $1,000 cash that you have in a safe in your house. It can be $1,000 that you have in a separate savings account. This $1,000 is above and beyond your living expenses. So for example, it's going to come down to how your current work is set up and how you make money. So if you have a job and you get paid every 2 weeks, you'll need to leave as much money in your incoming accounts as you can for paying expenses, and then any additional money that you have, if any, will be allocated toward the next few steps. But the very first thing that we want to do is we need to get $1,000, scrape it together real quick, or you might already have it, and set it aside into somewhere else. That is step number one. Now, a lot of people, myself included, think $1,000. This is something that I push back on. Why $1,000? That's, in today's day and age, $1,000 doesn't really do much. There's not going to be too many emergencies that you can protect yourself with $1,000. That's true, but it's also intentional as to why it is $1,000. The $1,000 is to keep you on your toes. It is to keep you off your heels. It is to keep you focused on working the plan and getting out of debt. That's the first things that we're trying to do, is we're trying to get out of debt, and then we're going to work the rest of the plan in order to save up some money and start investing and a few other things there. So the $1,000 is not supposed to save you forever. It is supposed to keep you uncomfortable. And discomfort is good. I know today's day and age we don't like to hear that, and I know that comfort has become a choice favorite of everybody, but discomfort is good in this case if you're trying to get ahead. So that's step number one, is to save $1,000. Step number two is to pay off all debt except your house using the debt snowball. Okay, so there's kind of a few things to unpack here. So obviously the house is not going to be included. So if you have a house with a mortgage, that's not going to be included in baby step 2. That's going to be included in some of the later baby steps. I believe it's baby step number 6. And so we're going to be paying off all debt except for the house. And we're going to be doing that using the debt snowball. And this debt snowball looks like this. What you do is you take all of your debts and you list them out from smallest to biggest. You are going to pay the smallest one first, regardless of interest rates. Doesn't matter. We're going to the smallest amount, then the next biggest, then the next amount, then the next one, and the next one, until we pay off the biggest one last. This is done for a couple of reasons. Number one, interest doesn't matter here. It doesn't matter. Number two, we pay minimums on all of the debts, except for the one that we're paying off. That one we put as much money as we can per month toward knocking that debt out. The reason why Dave recommends and tells us to start with the first smallest debt and work up is because it gives us momentum. Yes, on paper, it makes more sense to pay something with a higher interest rate. That's true. But money is not just a logical game. It is actually a very emotional game. For example, when if you're in debt, or if you've ever been in debt, I've been in debt in the past, and it's terrible. It's an emotional thing that actually gets us there, right? It's not just a logical thing. It's making bad choices, something bad happens, whatever. And so we're not just thinking logically, we're thinking emotionally. And when we get a little bit of momentum, that momentum pushes us to go further and faster. And so that's why he set up the debt snowball in that way. So that's baby step number 2, is to pay off all debts, smallest to largest, regardless of interest rates. Step number 3, now that we're out of debt, step number 3 is to save a 3 to 6 month of living expenses as an emergency fund. Now, a great practice for this is to keep your emergency fund in a separate bank, not even in the same bank. Put it there and just forget about it and just have that there as an emergency. And so 3 to 6 months of living expenses. So for example, if you look at all of your bills and it costs you $10,000 per month after taxes to pay for everything, And then so if you were to do a 3-month emergency fund, that would be $30,000. If you were to do a 6-month emergency fund, that would be $60,000. Okay, so $30,000 to $60,000 would be your emergency fund. It's up to you. I always try to push for the larger just because it's nice to have some extra security, but it's up to you. So anyway, so 3 to 6 months of an emergency fund. Great idea to keep that in a separate bank. And the reason why is because if your banks are not connected together, it makes it a lot harder for you to go and get that money, which is good because that money is not for spending. So we want to add some friction in there. That way we don't mess with it, because it's super annoying to use your emergency fund to buy something that wasn't an emergency, and then you have to stop these next set of baby steps in order to reload up your emergency fund. Okay, so that's step number 3. Step number 4 is to invest 15% of your household income into retirement of some kind. So Dave talks about Roth IRAs and mutual funds and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm not an investment advisor, so I can't give you any financial advice. I can't do any financial advising. But he talks about saving 15% of your household income. So if you make $100,000, that'd be $15K that you would save into your retirement accounts. And depending on what your current income is, I know that you can max out your Roth IRAs. There are other options as well too, but at that point you're probably going to need a financial advisor to help you, pick the right things. And on Dave Ramsey's website, if you look on there, he has something called his ELPs. I think they're still called that. He might have renamed them, but they're endorsed local providers. There are people here wherever you are that are certified by Dave Ramsey and offer advice in congruence with how he teaches. Okay, so 15%, you're going to be doing that on a monthly basis. Step number 5 is to save for your children's college fund, or whatever you're going to do in terms of that. But now that you're out of debt, you have your emergency fund, you're saving for your retirement. Now you're going to also be saving for any children college funds or whatever you have going on there. And by the way, you're doing baby steps 4, 5, and 6 simultaneously. So up to this point, we saved $1,000, okay? We paid off all of our debts from smallest to largest. We then saved a 3 to 6 month emergency fund of our living expenses. Now these next steps, 4, 5, and 6, we are going to be doing at the same time. Number 4 is to save the 15% of your income for your retirement accounts. Number 5 is to save for your kids' college fund or whatever you're planning on doing there. And then number 6 is to pay off your home early. So if you have additional funds after you set aside your 15% and save for like your children's college fund or anything else, I feel like you could also save for like weddings and stuff like that. Kind of at this point, it's up to you. I don't want to alter Dave's plan, because it's his plan, but that's probably something you could do at this point. But paying off your home early is baby step number 6. And so anything else that you have above and beyond that, you just throw that at the mortgage until you have that paid off. And then baby step number 7 is to build wealth and give. So now that you're 100% out of debt, you're saving for your retirement, now it's time for you just to build wealth and give. So at this point, it's kind of up to you on what you want to do there. You can continue to invest. You could buy rentals if you're into real estate. You can continue to fund, mutual funds or whatever. And then also giving is a huge part of the baby steps that Dave talks about in his program. And, it's a super important thing. It's been found in all these books that I'm reading. There's a book called Give and Take by Adam Grant, I want to say is his name. But Give and Take talks about givers versus takers versus matchers. And it turns out the people that are givers always end up being at the top anyway. There are givers that don't always go super far in life, but that is for other reasons. It is found in the top successful people that they are naturally givers and they like to help others as well. So if you want to learn more about Dave Ramsey, you can just look up his website. I talked in a previous video about his budgeting app, Every Dollar, which is one that I currently use as part of my financial management software stack that I use for that. But to wrap things up here, Parkinson's law says that expenses rise to meet income. I think that this is important because if you're anything like me, you're probably wanting to make more money. Making more money is something that we I'm not going to say something that everybody should be striving for, but it's definitely something that I'm striving for, and you might be striving for it as well too. And I think it's an important thing. But if we do not get these basics under control, then we will receive more money and it will be gone and we will not use it wisely, says Parkinson's law, and confirmed by lots of other people as well. So even though the stuff seems simple and kind of boring, that's at least how I kind of feel about it to a certain extent. Now that I've been working the plan for a while now, it gets a lot more exciting. But if you're in baby steps like 1, 2, and 3, it can kind of get monotonous sometimes. So just hang in there. Remember that you are setting the foundation for an incredible future for you and your family. And, consider not listening to the people out there that say, the baby steps is too simple. I need a more advanced strategy. Anytime you hear stuff like that being said, it's typically in many cases from people that might not have as much success. So you got to look at what they're saying. Who are they? Are they actually successful? Because just what you see online doesn't necessarily mean that they have anything. And so simple is everything. Per every single book that I have been reading, I have not read one book that said, the way that I became successful is I just implemented the most complicated strategy in the world. They always say the exact opposite. It's always the simple stuff that works. And this is simple, and I can tell you that this works. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. I make these videos because I read a book a day. I love reading and learning. And when I make these videos, I solidify some of the stuff that I'm learning. And so you're helping me out by being here. Thank you for being here. And hopefully I share something with you that sparks some interest in you and gets you to go out and change your life and the world as well. All right, guys, I will see you in the next video.